to climb nationally, but at a slower pace, driving up costs for investors. Home flipping profits have declined for more than a decade. The median price of a home flipped in the second quarter that was bought by an investor was $259,000, a record high according to data going back to 2000. I'm Ed Donahue.
I'm Haya Panjwani, AP News.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Let's see if we can shop blue and slay by looking at clothing brands that support the Democratic Party. Nike. Now, yes, Nike's co-founder is very Republican. However, the other 83% of the company supports the Democratic Party. $894,000 in 2024. Dior. Now, Dior does not give to politics, but some of their employees do. And 84% of their donations went to Democrats in 2024. Adidas. Adidas also does not give to politics, but a lot of their employees do, as 97% of their employees' donations went to Democrats. Gucci. Gucci also does not donate to politics, but their employees do, and 84% of their employees' donations went to the Democratic Party. Chanel. Chanel also does not give to politics, but guess what? 99% of their employees donated to Democrats in 2024. I would hate to be that guy in the 1%. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 59. Saturday, sunshine, high of 85 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 83. Monday, sunshine, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
Hi, I'm Carson Kressley. Of all the resources in the world, kindness is the most precious. For more than 140 years, American Humane has been working to protect animals in disasters, on farms, on the silver screen, and in zoos and aquariums caring for the world's vanishing creatures. You can help too by making humane choices every day. Visit AmericanHumane.org for simple ways to build a more caring and compassionate world for all of us.
What if you didn't follow the path everyone else takes? Would you rather make your own way or spend your life saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Friday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. Yes, it's time to fight, and welcome to the September 26, 2025 edition of Choose Views. The number is 773-763-9278. That is our Credo mobile phone and text line. Give us a shout or send us a text. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, and YouTube. Also, you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Substack, and Threads. Yes, we hang out there every now and again. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Got different cameras this morning, so you see me bobbing my head back and forth. It's not because I'm confused. It's just trying to find the right camera. All right. That's where you can get Choose Views, featured interviews. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And certainly make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. You guys know I was here yesterday afternoon sitting in for Joan Esposito. Boy, did we have fun. Tom Hartman was with us, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Matt Gertz from Media Matters. It was really a fun time. It's great to hang out with those guys. And Maddie B was with us to keep the train on the rails. But make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Right now, great posts and articles that are there, as we always say. And it looks like Ohio is trying to move in the direction of some redistricting, which Republicans are trying to further gerrymander their maps in the state of Ohio. And it was nice to see Governor Pritzker have a little bit of fun with the menace in the White House in terms of pronouncing acetaminophen. And he said that not only does Donald Trump can he not pronounce the word correctly, but he also doesn't understand science. So check that out there. And then Democratic U.S. Representative Mark Vesey down in Texas, again, gets after Ted Cruz. So you'll want to lean into those. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Our group there, editorial digital editorial board, is great, and they do so many wonderful things for us. On today's show, we will have with us, it's Friday, so that means our good friend from TruBlu Politics podcast, Karen Byrne, will be with us, calling in this morning. And we'll also have a candidate for Congress, Bushra Amiwala, will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour. And at 7:30, we'll be talking with the CEO and founder of Alabaster International, which is part of this whole Clinton initiative on global health. Shannon Fernando will be with us to talk about work that she's doing to help entrepreneurial women, specifically in Africa. So we'll have two really great stories of folks that are doing phenomenal things. One running for office, and the other helping to better the lives of women that are building their future. And then, of course, Karen and I will chop it up at 6:30, which is always fun. So, and we're going to talk a little. We got a couple of clips we're going to hit you with this morning on some of the business thoughts around what's happening with this administration. And we're going to talk a little bit about healthcare for a moment. But right now, check this out, progressives.
If you want to understand what happens when you get your letter, and they're all coming, October for Michiganders is when we understand the plans are sending out their letters. When you get that letter and you gasp at how your price has gone up on your private insurance, your employer-provided health care, you understand exactly who gave you that price increase, exactly who put you in that position, exactly who told you that he was going to lower your costs, and now you are going to have to eat that cost starting January 1st. That is Donald Trump. That is my Republican colleagues who sit across the aisle. That is everyone who said, I'm going to do the political thing instead of what's right for the average American. Healthcare is something that this country should be providing to its citizens so that everyone can afford. That's just a basic thing we should do as the most powerful nation in the world.
Yeah, that's Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin talking about what's coming with regard to health care and the changes that have been made because of this bill from the Republicans. This is not a Democratic bill. It's the big, ugly bill from the Republicans. And, these increases are coming. And in many cases, these are folks who are on that are part of the ACA. This is coming from these increases. This is one that is kind of faded a little bit. Not needing in terms of its importance, but in terms of how it's being covered. But, I came across this clip and I just thought, she's right on point. Not just with health insurance, but with darn near everything else. Frankly, everything else. Donald Trump told the country, and 78 million people believed it, that he was going to fix everything on day one. Got to get the cameras right, that one there. Everything was going to be fixed and perfect on day one. And it was a damn lie. Not on day two, not on day 100, for that matter. In fact, everything is worse. Tell me something. And I want a person that, we got MAGA trolls that listen to the show. I know they do. They call every now and again, but they can't handle the smoke. They text because they can hide behind and they can keyboard warrior. But tell me one thing that's better for all Americans, not just your little segmented, racist, sexist, Christian nationalist, privileged folks and bigots. For everybody. The economy is not, the broader economy is got major concerns from corporate leaders because of the tariff taxes. We aren't any safer because of what ICE is doing. We have more incidents of people who have been, gathered up, thrown to the floor, pepper sprayed, punched, kicked. 19 people that have been that have died in the custody, if you will, of ICE. So we aren't safer there. And for the whiny ones out there that are saying that the jobs from that brown skinned folks were taking your jobs, that's a damn lie, and you know that it is. Many of those people who were whining about the jobs being taken and not available to quote unquote, regular real Americans were too damn lazy to go out and do the work in the first place. So insurance is going up, and pretty much everything that's part of this bill that's supposedly going to save money, no, it's all lies. DOJ wasted money, wasted time, wasted resources. Our international connections are worse. So I'm not trying to start to show off in a negative way. I'm not. I'm just saying, like Senator Slotkin said, all these things were a lie. So our responsibility is to tell the truth about the lies that Donald Trump told and his administration told. And now, and he said he wasn't going to do this, but we knew he was lying, and he's doing it. He's going after James Comey. Retribution. Just like, I'll tell you who told the truth about this, Maddie B., and that was Vice President Harris. She said he would go on, that all these things would happen. Christmas is going to be more expensive, and the list goes on. Our foreign affairs are going to be worse. Our international relationships and relations are going to be worse. She said that he was going to go after people. James Comey, going after James Comey. And so, and I hope one of the things that I hope comes out is that during this process that Comey's been indicted, that during the part of this where there has to be disclosure, that he gets to disclose some things that he maybe never disclosed before about Trump during his first term. I would love to see that. We'll see where it goes. And the other thing is that, talk about people playing fair and doing the right thing. Did you guys know that the Trump administration gave Mikey Sherrill's Social Security number, phone number, home address, and insurance information to her opponent that she's running against? Did you guys know about that? Yeah. I mean, actually provided the information to her opponent. Somebody needs to pay for that. Somebody needs to be, in handcuffs over that one. So that's who the Trump administration is. Retribution and giving information, personal information of a duly elected member of Congress who's now running for governor. Her information, her personal information. Does it tie back to DOJ? It doesn't matter what it ties back to. The Trump administration is responsible for that happening. So I want to see some of those knuckleheads in handcuffs for releasing her information. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Hey, Tom Hartman here. Mark your calendar for Wednesday, October 15th at my favorite deli restaurant, Max and Benny's in Northbrook. I'll be there talking about and signing copies of my newest book, The Last American President. This is a free event for all my WCPT listeners. Just register on WCPT.com. Attendance will be limited to the first 100 people, so please go to WCPT.com to register today. Max and Benny's, 7 p.m. Wednesday, October 15, 461 Waukegan Road in Northbrook. Tag, you're it.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal, book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
To Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, we are back. Good to be back with you on this Friday, September 26, 2025. So we got a couple of Choose Views news items for you. Donald Trump did sign off on the TikTok deal. Executive order yesterday approving the sale of TikTok's U.S. business to American owners through China. Though China has yet to officially approve the deal, U.S. firms Oracle and Silver Lake, along with the Abu Dhabi AI firm MGX, will share a combined 45% stake in the TikTok U.S. Version, according to CNBC. U.S. growth was revised higher again, which tells me that, you know how they recently changed up the people that were heading the office of the OMB office. And, you know, I knew this was coming. The U.S. economy expanded at the fastest clip in almost 2 years. During the second quarter, a final estimate shows gross domestic product grew at a 3.8% annualized rate, up from earlier assessments, the Commerce Department reported yesterday. Fueling expansion was higher consumer spending, which typically accounts for more than 2/3 of the GDP. The latest rate represents a sharp rebound from a contraction in the first quarter as companies front-loaded imports headed ahead of the U.S. tariffs. I don't believe the numbers. When I see numbers, they've revised them again, and this is after they changed the folks that are at the head of reporting those numbers for the purposes of what? Trying to make Donald Trump's economy look good, which we know there are problems. Anyhow, younger members are starting to fuel sales at Costco. Costco reported quarterly earnings that surpassed Wall Street's expectations, driven by sustained demand from its membership base and an increasing influx of younger shoppers. Earnings per share for its fiscal fourth quarter climbed to 5.87 from 5.29 in the same period from a year ago. Analysts had projected 5.80. Meanwhile, Costco's e-commerce business, which saw a 13.5% jump in sales last year, has been steadily attracting younger cohorts. Kind of makes sense. Starbucks closes stores and cutting jobs. They will close stores and cut hundreds of jobs as part of a $1 billion restructuring push as it looks to regain its dominance of the coffee business. The chain said yesterday that it will lay off about 900 corporate employees, mainly in North America, plus eliminate many open positions. It is Starbucks' second round of layoffs since Brian Niccol became CEO about a year ago. Delta's moving to fix its toxic fume issue following an investigation by the Wall Street Journal that showed toxic fume leaks are sickening passengers and crew. Delta is finally taking action. The airline is in process of replacing the auxiliary power units on over 300 of its Airbus A320 jets. The units provide power into the airflow systems in the cockpit and cabin when the main engines are shut down and are considered the primary causes of the leaks. Delta's move is seen as, quote, one of the most aggressive efforts to manage a hidden hazard of modern air travel. Last but not least, Amazon is settling with the FTC for $2.5 billion. The lawsuit that alleged that the e-commerce giant used, quote, deceptive tactics to sign up tens of millions of people for Prime, then made it onerous, hard in other words, to cancel. The agreement was announced 3 days into the federal trial involving both parties. 3 senior Amazon executives were at risk of being found liable if the jury had continued and the case had gone forward. Under the deal, Amazon is set to pay $1 billion in civil penalties and refund $1.5 billion to consumers. There you go. A couple of Choose Views news items on this September 26, 2025. Get out and about, guys. It's Friday. Weather's supposed to be great here in Chicago, so enjoy yourselves anywhere else you are in the country. Get out. Don't stay inside. If you can get out and about, get that fresh air in your lungs. I have to tell you, particularly if you work from home, get out and about. Get some air in the lungs. Let's grab a quick call before we go to break. Let's go to Naomi in Santa Monica. Good morning, Naomi, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Good, thank you. Sometimes I wonder where you get your therapy because you seem to be everybody's therapist.
Well, I will be honest with you, Naomi. I do pray a lot, and I don't necessarily pray to a specific God. I pray to a higher power of all of us. I stay optimistic, and I have good people around me, and it starts with that. I have great people around me, my wife, my family. I have great people here with the station at WCPT. We are a great team, and so that's a big part of it, and I feel obligated in a good way to bring you guys the best that I got every single day. So that's where it comes from, Naomi.
All right. So, I'm thinking about the ICE people, those thugs, the criminals that are wearing the ICE costumes. I believe that I might contact Rob Bonta in California, the Attorney General, but anyway, I think that we should require them to provide fingerprints for everybody that comes in, that they send in, and names that match the fingerprints, and the vehicles that they drive, license plates, because they killed somebody. They struck today, I think in Chicago, it was somewhere. One of the ICE people went up on the sidewalk and hit somebody.
Yeah,
and they drove away.
Yeah,
and there was no way, and they won't cooperate. They won't give them any information about it.
Yeah, Naomi, the thing that was most concerning for me with ICE was when the bill that passed had set aside, I think the number is 100. I could be wrong. It's $171 billion. Is that right?
Right.
That making it the largest law enforcement budget in the country. That kind of gave me the sense, as many people across the country it did, that these guys are going to be unrestrained, and they need to be restrained, and they need to be outed. That's why I'm so proud of Mayor Brandon Johnson here in Chicago that made it through executive order illegal to have essentially parade around with mask on as an ICE agent or any agent for that matter. So it's frustrating, Naomi. There's no question about it. I think what we have to keep doing is what you just said, is contact our state attorneys general in blue states particularly, and hell, we may as well contact the ones in the red states too. Because they as a legal body have purview and standing to file necessary suits and grievances with the federal government. So that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm hearing, and I'm working to try to get our Attorney General here in Illinois, Kwame Raoul, on the show to talk about some of the things and strategies that they're putting together. So I will say that, Naomi, as a way of remaining hopeful and focused on just keeping the noise up. We have to keep the noise up. We have to keep yelling, screaming, pushing, and all the things that we have at our disposal.
I have the ultimate solution to this problem, but it's very difficult.
Well, I have one too. Go ahead. I'm sorry, dear. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That is for all the blue states, the giving states, the surplus states, to withhold all funding to the federal government and let them stew in their poverty.
Yeah. I've had other people say versions of that. In fact, yesterday someone said their version of that when I was on sitting in for Joan Esposito. So, boy, that would be interesting to see the shutdown, a shutdown from not paying taxes, federal taxes, and other representations. So. I'm
wondering if like California is withholding certain states that they send to them instead of as opposed to the ones that automatically go to them. There may be some taxes that we have to send to them after they're collected by us. I'm hoping that we're withholding those. You know what I mean?
I do.
I'm suspecting that we might be, but the ones that I want them to withhold are the income taxes that go directly to the government. And the problem is businesses. You have to involve the businesses, and I don't know if they cooperate.
I do.
Anyway, I've been thinking about this for months and months and months.
Well, you can always deliver it here, Naomi, and we definitely want to hear your thoughts and your ideas. Your contributions greatly appreciated. Stay safe today, okay?
Yeah, have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good on Naomi. She's up early, and how wonderful of her to give us a holler. We're getting too tight to the break. We'll we got to do that since we got our guest coming up. Yeah, so ICE is off the rails. They just are, guys. There's no other way of putting it. They need to be reined in. I used a word yesterday. I said something else, and it was suggested to me to change it up a little bit. So I agree with that recommendation. But they need to be reined in. ICE has to be reined in, and we know that the reality of that happening right now is smaller than we want it to be due to the fact that they have this huge aid budget. And Trump and his regime, they don't give a darn. Noam doesn't care. Bondi doesn't care. Stephen Miller, they don't care. And I won't say on the radio what I'd like to wish on those that don't care from any ilk about people being thrown to the floor, pepper sprayed, and the other things that we've seen happening. Chokeholds. I said to Maddie B when we first got in, because we were talking about this in terms of Broadview, that, I know there's a higher power because the higher power won't let me be where these things are happening. You guys can interpret that how you wish. But that being said, let's take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, the 200 and 515th Coast Artillery Companies from New Mexico stood resolute against overwhelming odds. Composed largely of Hispanic soldiers, these brave men were stationed in the Philippines, where they faced the brutal onslaught of Japanese forces. Despite their lack of supplies, American and Filipino forces managed to fight the Japanese for 3 months. However, this was not a victory for the American and Filipino forces. As the American Army surrendered in Bataan, the U.S. and Filipino prisoners of war were forced into the infamous Bataan Death March. A grueling 65-mile forced trek under the scorching sun, marked by extreme deprivation and harsh treatment. Sadly, 829 men were never able to return home. New Mexico's veterans of the Bataan Death March are honored each spring with the annual White Sands Bataan Death March Marathon. People from all around the world join together in the desert at the White Sands to participate in the anniversary of one of the most tragic casualties of World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 59. Saturday, sunshine, high of 85 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 83. Monday, sunshine, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 61.
You've been working hard all day and didn't have time to catch up on the news during work.
And that phone just wouldn't stop.
We've got you covered. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
We will fight as many places and as many times as it takes to get this power back.
Joan Esposito, afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. WCPT 820.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the show and glad to be with you. So, it's Friday, and what that means is our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast is going to be hanging with us for the next few minutes. And We got a lot to talk about, so we'll try to get as much in as possible. But good morning, Karen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. Yes, this is true.
Question mark? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to Naomi's point, we have to do our best to stay focused and stay optimistic, and so that's kind of where we are. I know that this last week has been kind of trying for you in some ways, but also you've been a voice that's been needed in this conversation around what's happening with ICE. I know that I sent you a couple of other items that we might get a chance to chat about in this next little bit. But your article that you posted in Substack, I mentioned it on Monday, but great article, Broadview, Illinois ICE Detention Center, the Untold Stories. You guys should go to Substack and check out Karen Byrne's post and article on Substack. I talked about it a little bit on Monday, but I wanted to remind you guys to get that, read it, and have it be part of your, as I talk about tools in your toolbox, to do work, to stay involved, to be committed to something that's helping people. And I think Karen's article will help you better understand that.
Yeah, I think such an important part of it is to tell the stories, to tell, because, of course, this all was sold to us under the premise that there were violent criminals that were running around the country that, were a danger to our women and children. And I honestly, we all know that that's a lot of projection by Trump, because the only danger to women and children that I can see is sitting in the White House in the Oval Office. But aside from that, that is not what is happening. When people overstay visas, when people are here undocumented, it is not a criminal offense. It is a civil offense. But even with that, people are afforded due process. If they don't have a criminal record, they should not be detained. And go through they're grabbing people up and, at the courthouses, they're grabbing people at their children's schools, grandchildren's schools, Home Depot parking lots, and on off the street, just stalking people and grabbing them because the Supreme Court said that it's okay for them to racially profile. That's what's happening. And, in reality, and, people have asked me, well, yeah, but what do you say to the people that, we're seeing all these tent cities in Chicago? Then I would refer them back to the illegal action by Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis, who illegally abducted and trafficked human beings across state lines and dumped them in our 90 corridor.
Yeah. I mean, Karen, here's the question. So when people say something like, what about the people in the quote unquote tent cities? It's one of the more insensitive, awful things to say. There are folks who are homeless not because of the quote unquote perception by so many people that they're bad people, and that's one of those moments of privilege where people can kind of say, well, they're homeless because they did something bad, or they're bad people, or they didn't go to church, and all this other BS, and that has nothing to do with ICE snatching people from a courthouse when they're trying to do the right doggone thing. And so we know what the game is. And again, I keep coming back to your article and your post. It was extraordinarily well done, Karen. I got to give you your props on that. The research that you did and the time it took for you to put this together. You guys need to go and check it out. I'm serious. I want y'all to, to take the time and read Karen's post on Substack because it really is. It's Karen Byrne from Resistance Journal. And you should read it. It'll help you better understand things that are really happening on the ground. And you heard me say this, Karen. I know when we talked personally one-on-one, I'm getting a little tired of seeing grown-ass men grabbing, women the size, and I'm not being gender disrespectful, but women the size of Kate Abazali, who's running for Congress, and throwing her to the ground. I'm getting a little tired of seeing grown-ass men grabbing women, spraying women with pepper spray, grabbing women and chokeholding them. And that's why I say I'm glad there's a higher power where I haven't, because and Eric and I have talked about this, and other men that I know have, and I've talked about this. black men in particular, like, wait a minute, you can't be treating people like this, especially, women. I saw another situation where this guy threw a woman across a hallway, and yet before the grace of God, have we not had some guys decide that they're going to roll up behind these ICE agents and do what some have said is overdue. And I'm not calling for violence. I'm just saying they have to stop being violent to people in the process of what they say that their charter is to do. They have to. They're being violent to folks who are just trying to live and go through the process of getting their papers and whatnot more accurately in place. It's insanity.
And it's important that we also know that they moved the bar, because initially it was there are gang members. We're just going to deport the most violent criminals. And, you could sell that to a larger segment of our country's population because, of course, who wants to have violent criminals, coming across the border? And, we don't like the gang members, over here. So, of course, a lot of people, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's go do that. But that is, again, not what is happening. And these are good people who are just doing what every single immigrant has ever done in this nation's history, which is to seek out a better life with opportunities to make, achieve the American dream, if you will. And
there are more militia groups. There are more white male militia groups in this country that are causing harm to people than there are brown skin, whether it be light skin, brown skin, medium skin, brown, or dark skin brown people that are causing hell and problems in this country. There are more white men that are part of white male militias that are doing more harm. There are more Russian gangs that are doing more harm than these folks that are just trying to experience their everyday lives.
Right, and now they've got ice on their vests.
Yeah.
And it is truly terrifying. I'm not going to lie. I've been at the facility quite a bit, and they are very intimidating and menacing. And it's upsetting. But the reality is there are, family members that come looking for their loved ones. Broadview is the first stop. And the way it is supposed to work is, they're processed in there, and they're there for no more than, I believe it was like 12 hours before they are moved somewhere else. That is the way it normally is supposed to work. But in this situation, it is a boarded up building. They are housing people the longest duration that I have heard was 6 days overnight in a boarded up building. I think I had mentioned Broadview. I went into the Broadview Village Hall and asked how they're able to do that. And they said, well, that's outside of our jurisdiction. What is not outside of their jurisdiction is the fence that they have erected in the more recent days is stretching across the street of this industrial park. So it is a public throughway, and they have put fencing across it. Apparently, Broadview has ordered it taken down. They are not responding to that request. That is still up as of just a few moments ago when I was driving by. The Broadview police have put up barricades so people cannot drive down Beach Street, and they are keeping protesters on the perimeter over at 25th. They have ransacked the protesters' tent, pepper spraying all of the different supplies that people have been donating. They're acting aggressively. They chased down a young man who came here from California. And if you watch the video footage, it's about 8 or so masked ICE agents on foot chasing this young man down. They apparently took him into custody, and his mother is arranging a GoFundMe But, that's just one of many stories, where people are being pulled off of work trucks out of Home Depot parking lots, driving to their jobs, people that have gone through the process, made their court appearance, were released, and then the next day ICE shows up at their residence and takes them into custody again. They're not affording proper due process. And a friend of mine's friend, whose husband is an immigration judge, said that they have fired 50 from his office alone. And what they believe is going to happen is they're going to whittle it down to one judge that is going to basically be sitting with a rubber stamp and issuing deportations.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, and as horrible as horrible as it is, I think the big issue for so many people is, I think we got some feedback, Karen. You might have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me get on that handset. I'm not sure why that's happening.
Technology.
All right. Here we are.
It's horrible, and we know that it is. And I think that the big question for so many people, in fact, I know the big question, and you and I have talked about this, is what are the solutions, if there are even solutions, what are the ways forward? And I don't singularly have an answer to what the ways forward are, but what I do know that we have to do is keep bringing, we have to keep the attention on it. We can't let it suddenly be something we stop talking about and suddenly something that we stop filming, recording, and sending to the larger media, and that we keep pushing our representatives. That's why I was so proud that Congresswoman Robin Kelly, who we had on the show on Monday, talked about what she's doing and how she's showing up, because at this point, ICE is off the rails, and
they're off the rails.
The thing that we have to do, I'm not going to say the only thing that we can do, but the thing that we have to do is make sure that we are providing people with information and access to immigration attorneys so that they have representation. We have to also make sure that people are speaking like you are and like I am and many others are to all forms of media, not just mainstream media, but all forms of media when it comes to this. And we have to make sure that the White House knows that we are watching. A lot of people will say, well, there's no teeth in that. Well, I'd rather keep doing something that's having a little bit of movement than doing nothing at all.
And can I say Midas Touch has been doing a great job of showing some of these abduction videos. And you're right, Richard, to the point that, where we have our power is that we have our voices still. We have the ability to document and amplify and educate. And that is exactly what, we need to do. This is a criminally corrupt administration, and these actions are absolutely unconstitutional. They are not picking up people based off of probable cause. They are not detaining them with any, right to do so. And they're not providing due process when they're checking these people in. They're supposed to be issued a bracelet with their A number and their correct name. That is not always happening from what I am hearing. But I will say when family members show up to the ICE facility, what they can do, and that has been somewhat effective in the people, with the people that I have spoken to, is provide the loved one, the detainee's name, and provide your phone number so that they can call you. And when they call you, ask for the name on the bracelet and make sure it's correct, and ask for the A number, because that will help if there's any hope for the immigration attorneys to be able to look them up and the family members to locate them in the system.
Yeah. And the importance of that is it is a it's a not direction. It's a thing we can do. It's part of the process. Process is still the wrong word. It's one of the tools that we have that we can use to be there for someone that does get caught up in this process, that does get caught up in this system. I think, you listen, guys, we talk about this so often, but that's because we know that it works when we do it. And I'll give you an example. The reason that our voices are important, no matter what the ultimate reason was that ABC decided to put Jimmy Kimmel back on, ultimately we started messing with their money, and they realized that was actually that was having a more immediate impact on them than Trump and the licensure and all that. There was an immediate impact to their bottom line. So don't buy into it when people say that our voices don't matter. Our voices do, or else they wouldn't be going after the tools that allow our voices to be broadcast. So don't tell me that our voices don't matter when they want to break up people being able to protest. Don't tell me our voices don't matter when they want to shut down communications between people and tell folks and make anything that we say on the left, if you will, or Democratic, progressive liberal Democrats. Don't tell me our voices don't matter when they want to now make it criminal to criticize a dude that was as racist and as sexist and as harmful as anybody could be because we criticize what he said now that he's dead. So don't let anybody tell you your voice does not matter. It matters. It has impact. It has power.
Listen, even in death, Hitler's still a bad dude.
Still a bad dude. And I'm going to say it 10,000 times if I have to. He's still a bad dude. And let's be honest, talking about that for a moment. J.D. Vance said that Donald Trump was what? He was what, Karen? Our today's Hitler.
Oh, he was today's Hitler. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I didn't mean to put you. Listen, that needs to be an in-studio trick. Okay, that we do.
Well, we'll do it again. I'll throw it on you when you aren't ready for it. But to that end, so let's keep our voices active and going. Let's keep that smile and that energy as tough as it. Listen, here's the thing that I say. And I hope you guys can trust in this. If you look at yourself in the plight, and I don't mean Karen, I'm talking about any of us anywhere in the country, you can probably say that your plight might be a little bit better than somebody that's caught up in whatever's going on with ICE or any of the other crazy situations that are happening right now. And I'm not trying to tell anybody to not feel concerned or even scared about what's going on. But if you can just for a moment, and when Naomi asked me this question, I didn't say this, but I'll say it now. I always try to remind myself that my day-to-day is probably just a little bit better than someone who's caught up in this craziness. And that right there is enough motivation for me to keep going forward each day. I'm not saying that's the solution for anyone else who might be dealing with all this craziness and just trying to figure out which way is up. But remember that somebody might be just in a little bit more of a struggle than you are, and maybe that can give you some additional motivation and energy to go forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, and these people are going to need a lot of help. You know, the woman that I met who has 3 young children, she's going to need some financial help, and so she set up a GoFundMe. So I was able to put that on my social media page and to get some help for her because one of her 2 sources of income is gone. And, she's got 3 little kids, and that's just one story, Richard. But I'm going to, if I can say this, there's been a lot of, media coverage about the protesters and a lot of visuals about the women being body slammed, to the ground, our candidate, our representative, Kat. Yes, she was, body slammed. And then there was another video of another woman being pushed down to the ground and pepper or tear gassed. These guys are acting like thugs. However, I will say this. The temperature over there has definitely cooled down. There are people bearing witness. The protesters, like I said, have been kind of pushed to the perimeter. So the temperature is not as high there. There are things that we can do if you want to get involved, but those visuals were scary to you. Just know that I have been over there every single day. That is, it is not like that day to day. And and that there are people showing up with signs and that are bringing awareness, just kind of lining up along Lexington and then on 25th with signage just to bring awareness, because a lot of people don't even know that it's there. I have several neighbors that had no idea that that's where they were holding people. So, just bringing awareness. There's going to be an Aztec ceremony, at least it's planned for 6 o'clock over there. I'm going to walk over and lend my support. And I'm going to say it again, white folks, we have got to recognize our privilege. We understand our protection. So we need to be out there lending support, because a lot of the young people that I'm meeting that are taking risks out there, they're people of color. And they're, they need our support. They need to know that we're allies and that we're with them, and we cannot be afraid in this moment. So, and if all you can do is donate water, they need water. They need, maybe some healthier food options, because I've seen some pretty bad ones over there at the tent, like a lot of donuts, and I'm like, guys, you got to eat better than that. But yeah. But there are things that we can do to help. Find the ways that you can be of support to people in this crisis, and just support one another and love one another, and just it's heartbreaking. I'm not going to lie, my heart has been breaking, and this week was really intense and tough.
Well, that's why. So two things I want to say as we wrap up. One, everybody, hear the words of getting involved and being involved. But when you are on whatever level, whether it's the situation with ICE and detention centers, anywhere in the country that you might be in proximity of, show up and support and do whatever you can. Check with the local officials that may have some protocols that keep you safe, but also keep you involved in the process. Check with your local officials in the areas where are you seeing things like this. Show up at the courthouses is another thing that you can do, because that's public space, and you will be directed as to where you can and cannot go. But that's another way of support. But the last thing I'll say on this is self-care. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's important that when you're out in the mix like this and you're faced forward with these awful situations, it is important to do two things. One, self-care, making sure you're giving yourself a break from all of this, and also, if you can go with someone, take someone with you. Don't go, if you can go not alone, is how I want to say this. That's critically important, because you want to be able to be recorded or have to record if something does jump off when you go to a particular area. So thanks again, Karen, for your dedication on this, and the inspiration that I'm sure provides to other people. And just stay safe, as I tell you all the time, and to everyone else that's out there in the fight. You guys have to stay safe. Give us a call if you have any questions and other information that we can share with you. Thanks for being with us, Karen.
Listen, honey, thank you as always for giving me the opportunity to be on your show like this. It means a lot, Richard. And, it's just, there's a lot of fights out there to fight. And, I think that as long as we have all of our players,
all of our players means all of our players.
That's right. I think we're going to make it through this. It's going to be a long, bumpy road, but I think we're going to make it through.
Yeah, we have to just keep in the fight. So be safe out there, Karen. Thanks for the call this morning. Thanks for the segment and the update. You guys go check out her Substack article, Broadview, Illinois Detention Center. You have to check it out. It's at her Substack. Be safe, Karen. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon, okay?
Have a great weekend. Love to everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Tough stuff. I'm not going to try to dance around that. It's not. It's tough stuff. And we should not be here as a country. There is no reason for this. So now that we are here, we have to be willing to fight. And the fight is, listen, some people have said, well, what does that mean? In some cases, guys, I apologize, but we kind of have to, we're figuring some of this out on the fly. But we're going to do our best to keep figuring it out. And the thing that we can't do is, rest on our laurels, sit back and say everything's going to be fine without work. That's not the case. It's almost the top of the hour. I'm going to try to squeeze in one quick call before we go to break. Let's go to Rick from Florida. Hey, Rick, good morning. Welcome to the show. Are you there? All right, let's go back. All right. Okay, so we won't go to a break. Let's see. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Just to let you guys know what's coming up today. Joan Esposito is back, and our guests include American Library Association President Sam Helmick, plus our Pet of the Month segment, live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, TuneIn Radio. And then tonight, driving it home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by John Parker and Jim Pounds of The Gailey Show, which airs weekday mornings 5 to 6 a.m. here on WCPT. Dee Darling, candidate for McHenry County Board, District 1. Illinois State Senator Mike Simmons, Democratic candidate for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. That's driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then tomorrow, in the big picture, Edwin Eisendrath's going to be talking to Matt Caffrey, Senior Director of Grassroots Community Organizing at Swing Left. Aaron Rachelin Melnick, Senior Fellow at the American Immigration Council. Richard Tolfel, former President of ProPublica and author of the Second Round Draft newsletter and Substack. You want to check out Edwin's show tomorrow because with Aaron Melnick, that will be a really good conversation talking with the American Immigration Council. That's the big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays 1 to 4 here on WCPT, AM 820, the Heartland Signal website. Tune in. There you go. All right, a Monday. We'll be here before you know it. Sarah Jones, the managing editor, I should say, and co-publisher of Politicus USA will be with us, and Sarah Garza Resnick will be with us. She's the CEO of Personal Pack. Choose Views, Monday, weekdays, 6 to 8 a.m. Central, WCPT, AM 820, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Got to have a little fun with that. Let's take a quick break, Maddie B. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Listen up, fellow timeshare owners. If you're a timeshare owner and you want out at all costs, you're done, frustrated, tired of wasting money, you don't use the darn thing. Get out now. Hire the best Bulldog timeshare cancellation team in the business. Their in-house legal team, headed by a timeshare cancellation lawyer, can help you fight the biggest and baddest companies out there that sell timeshare. At some point, you were using your timeshare, but now you're not, and you're tired of wasting money. Before you go to the poorhouse, call right now and learn how you can stop the maintenance fees and put more money back in your pocket. Their services cost you a lot less than you think, and you'll save a lot of money over time. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline now. It's a free consultation.
800-296-0150. 800-296-0150. 800-296-0150. That's 800-296-0150.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the heart of World War II, while the skies rumbled with the roar of combat, a groundbreaking squad of pilots emerged from the segregated South, the Tuskegee Airmen. An elite group of African-American pilots defied the odds with their courage and skills. Trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfields in Alabama, they became the first black aviators in the U.S. military. Despite facing racism and skepticism, they soared through the skies with unmatched precision, escorting bombers and earning a distinguished reputation for their bravery. Their red-tailed P-51 Mustangs became a symbol of excellence and resilience, and in 2007, the Tuskegee Airmen were finally honored as they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. These aviators didn't just fight for victory in the air, they battled for equality on the ground, forever altering the landscape of the American military and inspiring generations to come. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Haya Panjwani. Former FBI Director James Comey is responding to the Justice Department's charges brought against him. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Former FBI Director James Comey says he is innocent of charges of lying to Congress during testimony in 2020. The longtime foe of President Donald Trump was indicted by a grand jury.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees. And you shouldn't either.
Comey is the latest person to face charges in President Donald Trump's retribution campaign against his perceived political enemies. I'm Donna Warder.
The president says he'll be imposing more tariffs next week. AP's Ben Thomas.
President Trump has announced a flight of new import taxes, 100% on pharmaceutical drugs, 50% on kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, 30% on upholstered furniture, and 25% on heavy trucks. They're all to start October 1st. The pharmaceutical tariffs came as a shock, as Trump previously suggested they would be phased in over time. However, he did say they will not apply to companies that are building manufacturing plants in the U.S., defining that as either breaking ground or being under construction. He declared the tariffs on kitchen cabinets and sofas were needed for national security reasons, with foreign manufacturers flooding the U.S. with their products. As for foreign-made trucks, Trump says domestic producers are being hurt and need to be defended. Ben Thomas, Washington.
A London court threw out a terror-related charge against a member of the controversial Irish-language hip-hop band Kneecap. They based their decision on a technical error in the way the charge was brought forward. More on the story on apnews.com. This is AP News. A New Zealand jury has convicted a man of murder and arson for setting a fire at the boarding house where he lived and killed 5 fellow tenants.
The jury at the High Court in Wellington reached the murder and arson verdicts against Esarona David Lologa after less than 3 days of deliberations, rejecting the defence of insanity argued by his lawyers. Lologa, who's 50, had been granted name suppression throughout the 5-week trial, but the order was lifted when he was convicted. Prosecutors accepted Lologa had schizophrenia when he twice set fires inside his 92-bed hostel over one night in May 2023. They said, though, he lit the fatal blaze not because of his mental illness, but because he wanted to seek a transfer to other accommodation. His lawyers had argued there was no evidence that he'd set the fires because he wanted to live elsewhere. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
I'm Haya Panjwani, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 59. Saturday, sunshine, high of 85 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 83. Monday, sunshine, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 61.
Save big money on everything for your next bathroom project. Now at Menards. Upgrade your bathroom with Max. With more than 1,000 showers, bathtubs, and surrounds, you're sure to find exactly what you need to add luxury and style to your bathroom. Save big in our entire selection of Max bathroom products. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel.
Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It is Friday, and we've got our great friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast on, talking about her experiences out at Broadview Detention Center. I'm going to call it a detention center, but ICE Detention Center in Broadview. Reckless, unhinged is what I would describe these ICE agents as being. And it's a call for new leadership, different leadership across the country on a local level, regional, state, national level. And we've got to stay in the fight to do that. With us this morning is someone that definitely knows the business of winning local elections and the importance of staying in the fight, and probably has some comments about Broadview's, just the discussing things that are going on there. And with us this morning, running as a candidate for the congressional seat in the 9th District of Illinois is Bushra Amiwala. Good morning, Bushra, and welcome to Choose Views.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me today. Absolutely.
It's so great to have you and this young, energetic voice, the first Gen Z elected official in the United States of America. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your ascent and all the great things that you've been doing. Let our listeners know all over the country a little bit more about you.
Appreciate you opening with that and holding space for me to share a bit about my background. I first ran for public office as a freshman in college in March of 2017, 3 months after Donald Trump was first inaugurated to be our president, and 3 months after he instated the Muslim ban across the country. That being said, I ran against a 16-year Democratic incumbent. I was a teenager. I was 19 years old. I was unsuccessful that attempt, yet earned 15,000 votes in the 13th District of Cook County, and the person that I ran for public office encouraged me to run again. And I've had the privilege of serving on the Board of Education for the public schools I attended growing up, where I've been for the past 7 years now.
That's fantastic. And, it's so encouraging and exciting to hear that story. I got to tell you, so many people, and I know you hear this as a candidate, I hear it in my role in this process, that we, meaning the progressive liberal democratic, team, needs to have younger voices. We've got too many older people representing our party. And I have a little bit of a different view of that. I think we need to have more energetic voices and new ideas, younger, brighter, faster ideas, irrespective of the person's chronological age. However, when we have someone like you, we get the double package. We get the chronological youth and we get the ideas that come along with that. How do you navigate through those conversations when I know you are going to have people that are saying, well, she's too young, and you look at that in obviously a different way because you've succeeded in being the first Gen Z elected official in the United States?
It's a great question. When I navigate those conversations, I realize I need to be the person to remind folks of my experience, because when they hear I'm 27 years old, they think about the 27-year-olds in their life and perhaps how people were when they were 27. But I remind saying I have 7 years of elected governance experience. I've had a decade-long career in the nonprofit space already. I have an MBA from the #1 business school in the country and 5 years in tech. I actually left my job at Google to run for Congress full-time. So suddenly it's like, oh, you are an expert. And I don't shy away from qualifying myself when necessary, but thankfully it doesn't come up as often as you would think, because that shared sentiment of new voices in leadership is very universal in this district and across our country.
It really is, and it's a testament to the fact that our party is open to having people in the party. But this part of this conversation around being a big tent, it's a big tent, and sometimes the challenge that comes with a big tent is we got a lot of different voices, a lot of different observations and opinions and ways of trying to get things done, or even agreeing on what we should be doing or what we should be working on. But at the end of the day, when we have voices like yours who keep pushing the envelope and pushing the boundaries, it's exciting, and there's a certain amount of magnetism to what you're doing, and you also know what the heck you're doing. So I oftentimes tell people who are sitting up in the cheap seats to stop telling people who are doing the work what to do until you come down on the court and get in the game. And you're a perfect example of that. You've gotten in the game and you succeeded at winning. And you're trying to repeat some of those successes for the future, and that's something to be applauded. So kudos, Bushra, to you for that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask the question that's not a tough question, but it's one that, realistic. I'm a man of color. You're a woman of color. How are you navigating that component, which no matter how we look at it, we know that there are people out there that look at things a certain way, but we know how to persevere and work through that. How are you doing that?
This means that when I speak out against immigration, as an example, I know we'll touch a bit more on this in our interview this morning as well, but I'll get remarks saying, go back to your country as a person that was born and raised in this country. When I'll be advocating, if not better and stronger and more fiercely than some other individuals, they will get applauded, and I will have flocks of people say that, well, if you hate this so much, go back to wherever you're from. And it just builds tougher skin, and it builds more resilience, and it means I have to work harder than the person next to me, and I have to double dot my I's and triple cross my T's, and I'm ready to put in that work to earn the respect that I deserve, knowing that I will get written off, to your point, simply because of what I look like.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing that I always hate when people say, and I literally do hate it when someone says, I don't see race, I don't see color, I don't see gender. Yeah, okay.
You do.
Yeah, if you have to say that, then you do. Right? I mean,
Agreed.
So there we go. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that have most recently been on your docket of activity. You probably heard right before you came on, our good friend and colleague Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast has really been deeply immersed in what's going on at this. I'm not even want to call it a detention center. This building where criminal acts are being levied on by ICE. You had an experience at Broadview in terms of the protest last week. Tell us a little bit about that and what you saw, what are your thoughts and what do you want to see happen or try to happen there?
Well, to your point, it's not a detention center. It's a processing facility. And I found that a lot of people, even those that were present and peacefully protesting with me, maybe didn't necessarily know the full context of why we were here. And to me, that shows, one, just a beautiful testament of we're willing to show up and do the work, even if we don't have all the answers. But I've been on the ground organizing against ICE since early February, when I first got a call that ICE was in our neighborhood. And in Illinois, because it's a sanctuary state and for a myriad of other reasons, we actually don't have any detention centers. What we have is a processing facility. So when our neighbors get picked up off our streets because some person's trying to meet their quota to earn their bonus for the month, they get taken to this processing facility in Broadview, where I was protesting last week, and they're assigned what's called an A number, basically an alien number, unfortunately. And unless your friends and family know what your A number is, there is no way to track you when you get shipped off to Kentucky or Indiana or wherever these actual detention centers are in other states. So my intent was to be able to collect that information, to be able to pass on to friends and family for the impacted folks in that processing center. And I've been protesting since I was 16. I've never been tear gassed in my life before. And it's a testament to the way that we are being dehumanized by these ICE agents, and an even greater look into what the people that are facing the grunt of ICE on a daily fear. We should be scared of how these people are being treated.
And that's one. The fear part is real, and I wanted to make sure I was clear earlier when I was talking with Karen that we have to acknowledge that there is fear, there is concern in this space. At the same time, we have to do our best to not allow it to stop us from moving forward. And one of the best things that we can do is to connect with people like yourself and connect other folks. I mean, Congresswoman Robin Kelly was there as well, and she spoke on our show earlier this week on Monday, saying the same thing, that it's an awful situation, but we have to make sure that we're there to support the folks that are being taken through this process. So let's talk a little bit about your goals and your objectives, and I just want to let our audience know you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Democratic candidate for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois, Bushra Amiwala, and she's got some things to say, but I want to know what your plans are, some things that you want to get accomplished if you were to win this congressional seat.
The three things that I'm advocating for are universal health care, and I found that I can win over different people for the same platform if I explain it in a different way. So yes, health care is a human right, but it's also the economically viable, fiscally responsible, logical mode for our country to adopt to. I'm a staunch advocate for supporting immigration with a clear path to citizenship. I think about my friends that get laid off in tech overnight that are on a work visa and what happens to their citizenship process. And I think about the people that have done all of the right things, have been here for decades, have filed the paperwork, yet still have not gotten called back for an interview. The thing is education. As a school board member, I know that my public schools don't get any more than 2% of their funding from federal funding sources, and the burden that puts on property taxpayers. So all of this is interconnected, and I would advocate for an increase in funding for public education at the federal level, and a 10% increase in that space only pulls a little less than 1% from the defense fund. And we also in cybersecurity. There's so much from an innovative lens that I hope to champion and advocate for, and I'm excited to be a top candidate in this field, talking about a lot of things that impact everyday Americans that maybe other folks might not even be equipped to understand.
One of the things, Bushra, that I so agree with you on, I've been saying this for a long time, probably as long as you've been alive, that if we want to improve our national security, one of the most important things that we can do is make sure that we have an educated population. And I don't just mean college education, but education through, K through 12 and whatever additional skill sets people want to get post high school. And by just making that adjustment in our current defense budget, we would do better at defending our country, and not just in terms of defending it from war or enemies of that nature, but just in terms of strengthening the core of how our citizens can operate and function in this country. So I'm glad to hear that you are one that's an advocate of that as well, because it's not complicated. Actually, it's a very easy adjustment in how our federal budget is allocated and appropriated and then allocated in the space of education. We'll talk about healthcare for a quick second. I don't know if you saw this post. Caroline Leavitt, we all know who she is, and we all know what harm and damage she's causing for the country as this press secretary. But I said this, I was asked this question yesterday, Richard, what do you think about the government shutdown? And I said, I know that the Republicans are going to very soon start to talk about it from the perspective of it's the Democrats' fault because they won't do what we want them to do, blah, blah, blah. And in a blink of an eye, here we go. Caroline Leavitt posted, Democrats are about to shut down the federal government because President Trump won't force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. Wow. So let's talk about that from your lens as it relates to health. First of all, we know that's a lie in terms of the paying for free health care for illegal aliens. Because every time we hear that illegal aliens description, people think of brown-skinned folks like you and me. However, we know the number of people that are from Central European countries that have expired work visas that have not been sent back. So technically, if we're going to get into that conversation, are we paying for free health care for those illegal aliens or the ones who come from Southern and brown-skinned countries? Take it away.
Yeah, there's absolutely a racial implication made on that, but all we have to say is people that are undocumented have contributed $97 billion in tax revenue last year alone and barely get their fair share of government services that they require, earn, and deserve. That's right. That's a simple. Yeah. It's a data-based, fact-based, numerical answer to this garbage about free health care for illegal aliens. But that's what's coming from this administration, and you are one of the voices that's pushing back, and have made it clear that you are going to be there to fight, and your plans to make this congressional district more affordable. Talk a little bit about that. You talked a moment ago about taxes, but let's talk a little bit about some of the things you want to do to make the 9th District a little bit more affordable. So it breaks back to what I call the Books Not Bombs Act, which essentially does do that budget shift, but that directly impacts property taxpayers, renters, homeowners, because I found that I was born and raised on the north side of Chicago in Rogers Park. By the time we moved to Skokie, the question every year was, can we afford to stay? I hear from families in my school district that our taxes are so freaking high. And I get it. I see it. I acknowledge it. And the burden is now on our federal government to bridge that gap, because that burden put on a heavy residential area like mine, where we don't have commercial businesses to offset the taxation process, is a fully broken system. That also means that we need to raise the federal minimum wage at the minimum to $17, and we must protect a new generation of workforce. That means contract workers, those that drive Uber, deliver DoorDash. These people, we need to expand what that labor and union force looks like, because our workforce has never looked more different than it has today.
Much more diverse workforce, and a diverse, and not just in cultural diversity, but in age and also in what they bring to the table in terms of their educational background. So yes, we do want to sort of open up the manners and the ways in which we can offset those tax responsibilities. One of the other things that I kind of an applaud to you, or tipping of the hat to you, is how you were one of the voices locally here in the Chicago metropolitan area that really made it clear about welcoming the Texas Democrats to Illinois during the quorum break that they were putting forward. And you were one of the voices that said, you know, not only are you welcome here in our state and our city and surrounding area, but you invited folks to come out and visit your mosque. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And it was so wonderful to have hosted 11 of the 50 Texas Democrats that had to flee for their safety to avoid a unconstitutional gerrymandering order. But they did not reach out to me because I was a candidate for Congress. To your point, they reached out to me because I've been a proven leader in the community who's an elected official already, and I'm grateful to have had that earned credibility and respect nationally pre-existing.
Yeah, and that was just really cool. I had a chance to meet probably a half a dozen of them at a church on the near south side here in the city, and then we were fortunate enough to have a handful of them on the show to talk about what they were doing, and it was an honor to have them with us, and we're going to keep the connections there so we can just keep an eye on what's happening with them and what's happening in Texas. So good for you for that. Bushra, tell our audience, let them know how they can find you, how they can get involved if they so choose to work with you in supporting your run for this congressional seat.
You can find everything on my website, bushraforcongress.com. That is Bush, like the shrub, BUSHRA, for Congress.com. You can donate. You can sign up to volunteer. You can just send the website to a friend. All of these elements of getting involved are equally as valuable to me, and thank you for having me on your show today.
Absolutely. Bushra Amiwala is running for that congressional seat in the 9th District here in Illinois. We're excited about her push and her energy that she brings to the conversation, because she is the first Gen Z elected official in the United States, and she wants to keep the ball rolling. So thank you so much for being with us, and we wish you all the success you can muster, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye now.
For sure. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. There you go. One of our leading voices, young American activist that's been elected to office here locally. And she is a representation of those voices that we talk about, we want to see as we work hard to make the changes that need to be made in the country. So I'm excited for her and her campaign. So let me ask you this quick question, Matt. Can we grab a quick call? Let's do that. Let's go to Donna in Rogers Park. Good morning, Donna. You are on the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. You doing okay yourself?
Yeah. You know, I was listening to Ken Burns earlier, and I was thinking to myself, there is a crime wave going on in this country right now, but it doesn't have anything to do with immigrants or the citizens that live in the country.
Nope.
It's these corporations that are getting these ridiculous tax breaks and they're paying people an unlivable wage. That's a crime. They should be embarrassed because that's why it's such a large percentage of working people living out of their cars, their SUVs, their vans. I mean, there's no reason in the richest country in the world there should be no homelessness, especially they are getting these ridiculous tax breaks and stealing from our tax money, and they're benefiting, and they're actually paying people unlivable wages. They should be humiliated and embarrassed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let anyone know if I was a corporate head, and I know all these people are homeless. They don't have health care. They're cutting food stamps, supplement, SNAP, and everything that the working people need to keep their companies making the top dollars that they're making.
Yeah, that's exactly what. I talked about this a little bit yesterday when I sat in for Joan Esposito, and that is the corporation leaders should be embarrassed on a couple of levels. I didn't talk about that part, but I'll merge it up with what you just said. I said that the Corporation Business Roundtable, which is an entity of the top 200 business CEOs in the country, they should be all pushing back on what Donald Trump and this regime is doing. And, you know, the names are names that some of us may or may not recognize. Mary Barra of GM, Tim Cook, Jamie Dimon, the list goes on. But the point I was making, and it's kind of, I guess, the other rail of the point that you're making, is that they should be embarrassed that they're even thinking about bending a knee to this dude. And I know that there's reasons behind it, and they want to me, those are rationalizations. They're not reasons. Their first duty should be to the shareholders, to make sure that their companies are solvent and that they're doing great for the company, the community that they serve, and the shareholders. And then the second thing should be making sure. But the second thing they should.
The shareholders need to be aware of this too. They should be concerned about the employees that work for these companies getting paid correctly.
And that was the point I was making about how both sides of this conversation need to be happening. One, that the CEOs need to be more. They should be stronger when it comes to this issue with Trump, getting them to bend at the knee. And the second is shareholders should be aware of what the CEOs are not doing in that space while making sure that employees of their corporations are paid well and certainly paid better than the wages that are prevalent with so many businesses in America today. That's my point.
Costco's doing. Look how Costco's doing, Richard.
Yep.
When companies take care of their employees, the price of shares go up, the profits go up, everything increases. When you take care of the people that are taking care of you, it's a win-win situation, and nobody loses. That's why it doesn't make sense to operate in this country the way that we operate. It's a win-loss here, and it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be, and that's part of the fight that we've all been pushing for, is that the corporations that have these extraordinarily high corporate compensation packages for the top 10% employees of those firms, that has to be revisited. And shareholders I think more and more shareholders have to be aware of that, particularly now with this knucklehead in the White House getting them to bend at the knee. So it's getting them to bend at the knee, and they're not supporting the people that work for the corporation, and they're not supporting the customers that buy their products or use their services. And it's a crazy double-edged sword.
For you, Richard, I got one last point before I quickly hang up. The other thing, you got a career criminal in the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania. He's never been held accountable for anything in his life. He's been getting away with everything more and more and more. And then when he punishes people, he gives them the most cruel and inhumane punishment. And he's never been punished. What about that?
Yeah, his niece, Mary Trump, said that the problem is that Donald has never been held accountable for really anything in his entire life. He's always been protected. He's always dodged. He's always worked the system, and he's never been held accountable. And that's why we have him as president, because technically, really, that's what's happened. So great point, Donald. We got to hit this bottom of the hour break, but thank you so much for your call. Have a great weekend. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Okay, guys, let's go to a quick break. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT will be broadcasting a live in-person Union Strong panel on Wednesday, October 15th from 3 to 5 p.m. And you're invited. Join me, Tom Hartman, and WCPT's morning host, Richard Chu, at the Ironworkers Local 63 Training Center in Broadview. Panelists include Paul Wendy from Ironworkers Local 63, Rob Fulton from Riggers Local 136, Cliff Horowitz from Horowitz & Associates, Andy Rico from IBEW Local 176, and Tom Villanova from Southland Friends of Labor. This event is proudly sponsored by Ironworkers Local 63, Riggers Local 136, Horowitz & Associates, IBEW Local 176, and Southland Friends of Labor. Wednesday, October 15th from 3 to 5 p.m., Ironworkers Local 63 Training Center, 2523 Lexington Street in Broadview. That's just off the 25th Street exit on the Eisenhower Expressway. All listeners must register to attend this free event at WCPT820.com. Just click on the banner.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
We are in the thick of negotiation, and Democrats stand united in asking Republicans to meet us at the negotiating table.
That's Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, Democrat representing the 14th Congressional District of Illinois, speaking to WCPT's Joan Esposito ahead of the September 30th deadline for Congress to fund the federal government.
We have some simple demands. Number one, let's cancel the cuts. Those awful Medicaid cuts that we saw in the big ugly bill, the largest health care cut in history, that is actively harming Illinoisans. And we want to make sure that we can reverse that damage. Number two, we got to lower costs. Like, that is the number one issue on the mind of my constituents for sure. And, you know, Donald Trump campaigned and said that that would be his priority, that he would lower costs on day one. And we're still waiting. And then number three, we want to save our health care.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the low 80s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 59. Saturday, sunshine, high of 85 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 83. Monday, sunshine, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 61.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Did anybody hear me say that younger was better? I thought I said that younger is great, and that with Bushra we kind of had both benefits of her young voice, her chronological youth. But I think I made it clear that we wanted younger voices, younger energy, but that doesn't mean that chronologically we're speaking younger. So, got a couple people that we've always got that. I love the trolls, Matt, that like to pretend like I said something I didn't say, because we know he didn't say it, and other people see, oh no, he didn't say that. So there you go. Sorry, but you're wrong. We got another great young voice with us this morning. That's kind of want to hopefully leave you guys with a little bit of inspirational thinking about doing things and making things happen. Earlier this week, we talked with a couple of folks from the Clinton Global Initiative, and today we have yet another person who is indirectly part of that concept and that work. That's part of the organization, or is really the person that has founded, the CEO and founder of a little-known organization that we want to amplify as best we can, Alabaster International. And with us this morning is Shannon Fernando, who is the CEO and founder of Alabaster International, and their work to teach African women how to grow, harvest, and sell and become entrepreneurs. So good morning, Shannon, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
So honored to be here.
Yeah, well, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a great segment because, the inspirational part of this, we know the disparities and the disconnections for so many people across the globe, and particularly women and women of color. But the inspirational side of this, because of the work that you've done, is just amazing. And I want just to give you a few moments to talk about your background, talk a little bit about your history, and then tell us about this wonderful organization, Alabaster International.
Well, again, thank you so much. So honored to be here. So yes, Alabaster International, I founded Alabaster in 2012. I actually, right out of college, I spent time in Kenya, lived there amongst women, particularly women in very impoverished regions of Kenya, and really fell in love with the community there. They were my teachers. They taught me the way of life, the way to live simply, the way to really care for neighbor. And it was during that time that I felt a calling really to start an organization that would really uplift women. And just a little bit about my background, I am a survivor of domestic violence myself, and so I felt very connected to the women that were going through a lot of suffering alongside violence as well. But it was also their resilience and their strength that really compelled me to start an organization that would partner alongside them. And so 2012, we started Alabaster. We started off as a healthcare organization at first. I'm a family nurse practitioner by profession, and we were Alabaster Mobile Clinic. And then in 2021, we changed our name to Alabaster International to reflect our expanded focus, particularly on female entrepreneurship and food security. And so we're so grateful that Clinton Global Initiative decided to feature and highlight our work in Africa.
The Clinton Global Initiative, I'll just say this, and it may seem a little bit partisan, but the one thing for sure is that the Clinton family, Bill and Hillary, have done so much to do good for the country and good for the world. And this Clinton Global Initiative is one of those staple organizations, and I know right now they've got the big shindig, or the week that's been the big events, and so I'm happy to see that folks like you have been able to partner with and continue that work and spread the needed support across the globe. And one of the things that I was not surprised to see, but the number of folks that you guys are reaching, it's just extraordinary. Talk about the number of people that your organization has reached out to, has supported, has been able to be a support mechanism for.
Yeah, thanks for that. Over the last, about 10 years, I would say we've impacted over 100,000 people through our programs, and those people represent the most marginalized in these respective countries we work in. We work in Kenya, South Sudan, and Ethiopia, so in the Eastern Africa. And those 100,000 plus people, women, men, children, are those that live either in conflict-affected regions or who are in very impoverished regions, areas where even traditional aid doesn't reach. And so we like to say we go where others can't go or won't go. And we're also unafraid to be the first to go to those regions, to really learn from communities and then walk alongside them to achieve their dreams, their hopes. So we don't come in with a prescriptive agenda, but we really come in as listeners and learners.
And that's something that all of us can take note of. I'm always, we all chuckle at that one because I ask myself every day, am I listening more than I'm talking? And I know that I talk for 2 hours, if you will, on a show, but I always ask, okay, am I doing enough to listen to what people who know more than I do have to say? Mm-hmm. And that's a real honorable thing for you guys to do, or part of your approach is to go in and listen, because oftentimes, and I know this from things that I've been involved in, we think we have the answer. One of the first things you want to do is tell people what to do. And, for you guys to have the discipline to be able to go into an area and listen first as much as you can, and then work toward implementing solutions is really something that I hope that you're proud of, and that you recognize as important. You said something, Shannon, that I hadn't heard before. You said places where folks won't go or can't go. Can you? I don't want to assume I know what won't go means, but I definitely don't know what can't go means. So can you put a little bit more light on what those two descriptors mean to you with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so for what we see on the ground is, first of all, I'm a frontline healthcare worker. So anything we do, I'm on the ground with the local community, with the local leaders. And what we found is, because we center local voices and we center local solutions, what we found is oftentimes if we want to go to a community that is very rural or very isolated, what happens is there are certain security risks, or there's certain even cultural nuances that you need to be taken note of. And that requires time and energy and even, resources to listen, to learn from the communities first before we enter into a village or a community. And so oftentimes the organizations that are perhaps larger than ours may not have the time, or just not within their geographic scope, to be able to take that time to really learn first before they go into a community. And so that's kind of the sense that we get on the ground, is if we actually listen to local intelligence, so to speak. There are places we can go despite what maybe the media or maybe even the trends say, that maybe that area is not safe or not open to aid or to support. So I think that's what we mean when we say won't go or can't go, is the sense that we have this as part of our ethos and our model to actually go where other organizations are not actually working, and oftentimes that's because there's certain security issues or certain even cultural things that are happening that have maybe been a barrier. But we're willing to step into that and to wait even until we've earned that respect and that trust, so that we can go in and serve.
So what went through my mind, Shannon, thanks for that explanation, because I'm really like, okay, won't go, can't go. I think I understand what won't go is, but I don't want to assume. I think our listeners may benefit from knowing what can't go means. But this is what went through my mind when you said that or described that. I thought, how many times have we been told by a person that knows more than we do, whether they be older than us chronologically or they just been doing something for a period of time longer than we have, you probably shouldn't go that direction, or you probably might want to try it this way rather than that. And we didn't listen, and it caused us greater trauma than we needed for the moment. And so listening to the local voices and listening to the ones that are part of something that you're trying to help is, again, that's a discipline that's hard for all of us, is to listen first and then proceed as best we can with the advice of those who may know a little bit more about that. Yeah. So thanks for kind of putting a little bit more light on that. I'd be remiss, Shannon, if I didn't ask you about an integral part of what you're doing, and it's called Enset. Can you take some time and explain to our listeners all over what that is and what its impact means to the work that you're doing?
Yes. So Enset is an incredible crop. We like to say it's the most extraordinary crop you've probably never heard of. It's a banana-like crop, so it's related to the banana family, indigenous to Ethiopia, and is actually a staple crop for over 20 million Ethiopians, mainly in the south and southwest of Ethiopia. And when we came across this crop, and again, we were doing research about what can we do, what solutions do we have that are indigenous, that are local, that can be a food security source for communities that are experiencing famine or even drought, and famine due to drought, especially in these farming communities. And we came across Enset. Its nickname is the tree against hunger because it's so prolific as a crop. It's very drought tolerant. It's perennial, means you can harvest it any time of the year. and it's highly nutritious. A lot of vitamins, iron, calcium, great source of starch. So great, especially for children or even pregnant women who need a source of calories. And essentially, we found that there's about 50 years of research saying that Enset can be the answer to food security throughout Africa, especially in the south and east. But one of the major obstacles was that Ethiopia had some very strict restrictions, against sharing Enset across its international borders. And, of course, very justifiably, they've had bad experiences with that in the past, and so they had these regulations in place. But we are really grateful that 2 years ago, Alabaster International secured the first ever agreement between Ethiopia and their neighbor in Kenya, where we also work, to share Enset across its international borders, this act of generosity from the Ethiopian government to enable research and field trials to understand if Enset can actually grow for the first time outside of Ethiopia in Kenya. And the great news is that it's now growing in these field trials in Kenya. And so we've proven for the first time in history that Enset can, in fact, be a regional answer to food security. And so part of our work now is to scale Enset cultivation first in Ethiopia, outside of just the South and Southwest. And so that was our commitment to action at CGI this year, was launching a program to scale Enset fruit and coffee tree gardens, essentially, to famine-prone and drought-prone communities in Ethiopia, and then fusing that with AI technology with our partner, Deep Impact AI.
Wow. I'm sitting here, I say this so often, Shannon, when I'm talking with someone that brings so much knowledge and experience that I just put my pen down and listen and stop taking notes, because what you're saying is not only so informative but impactful to people that are in need. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Shannon Fernando, who is the founder and CEO of this wonderful organization, Alabaster International, and all the great work that you guys are doing. It's important. And I want to ask you a question. You mentioned something earlier that the interaction between Ethiopia, Kenya, and other African nations. What's that like to be in those negotiations or those discussions where you kind of know, and this goes back to that thing about asking first, you kind of know that this thing that you're doing, or this product or service that you're offering, or this, in this case, a food item, a crop, is going to be good for so many people, but you run into the opposition from folks that are the locals, if you will. What's that like, and how have you been able to navigate through that successfully?
Yeah, so I think for us, first of all, I think when we started these negotiations and collaborations between the two nations, the first thing we wanted to establish is our motive and, what is our agenda. And I think it's very important when we first went to government officials in Ethiopia that we were clear that we wanted this to scale Enset and to understand its impact across Africa, because we want people to no longer die of hunger, particularly children under age 5. Like we no longer accept that to be a reality, that we're just going to say, well, this is just the way it is, and we're just going to move on with this. And so I think we had made a decision as a team, and even just me personally, that I as a nurse, I couldn't hold children who were dying of hunger any longer. I just had come to a breaking point. And so that really is what compelled us. And I think sharing our heart with the government officials on both sides, and then really understanding that neighbors across borders don't have to fight, right? I mean, there's so many conflicts right now that are across just borders, right? And there's this opportunity for neighbors to actually come and share resources and work together. So now we have researchers in Kenya and in Ethiopia working together to solve this hunger crisis in their nations, and it's just a beautiful collaboration. And so there was just such an openness when we came with that very transparent agenda and motive that, of course, officials in both these countries were very excited and very willing to come alongside and support that work. So I think that was really the crux of how we were able to negotiate and collaborate together.
Yeah, and given that this is a continent that one would say, and the data backs it up, that's been the most enriched, has the most amount of resources that have funded and fed the world, and then have those resources having been depleted over the last decades. That's a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have. People want to think of the continent of Africa as a country. Mm-hmm. But it is not. It is a continent of multiple countries and different cultures within the, quote, continent of Africa. But at the same time, the one thing that the continent has in common with itself is the outside depletion of resources. So to see the work that you're doing to bring those countries on the continent together for a common good, community-centered, is a beautiful thing. And I know it takes hard work and like I said earlier, the discipline to listen. So again, I'm about giving out kudos, Shannon. I'm about bringing the good energy to what folks are doing. When things aren't going well, then we find ways to correct it. When people are doing bad things and we have to get in that, what about them. But at the same time, when people are doing great things like you, I want to make sure that we amplify that as best possible.
We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and we will definitely have you back again. I want to ask this question, and it's a little bit of a political question, but not meant to talk politics necessarily. But the Trump administration pulled on USAID, and I'm curious how that's impacted you and the work that you guys are doing with Alabaster International, if at all.
Yes, and this has been such a difficult thing to talk about, even because for us on the ground, we know actual families, women, men, children with name stories that we hold in our hearts who are directly being impacted by the aid cuts, particularly around food security, nutrition. There's a supplement called Plumpy Nut. That's the colloquial term for it. Is RUSF or RUTF, ready to use therapeutic food, and those kinds of resources, particularly in South Sudan where we work, has now been depleted, and so there are families now facing malnutrition, acute malnutrition, because of the aid cuts. And so these are people we care for, we see, and so when we're on the ground. And so, it's been devastating, really. That's the word I can use for it in terms of the impacts. And then it's also impacted in terms of just overall global giving toward nonprofits like ours. A lot of nonprofits, NGOs like ours, are facing just decreases in giving overall. And so there's just been this, an opportunity, even though it's a challenge, but we also see there's an opportunity to mobilize other givers, other generous folks, philanthropy, to come alongside to really. So that's really our call to action on behalf of NGOs, I think, around the world, but of course for Alabaster, is that, that's what's really needed, because there is enough. I think this concept of everything is scarce. And the truth is, if we come together, there is abundance available. And there is enough, more than enough, to come alongside those who are most vulnerable. And so that is what we're holding on to in the midst of these devastating cuts.
That's a powerful, powerful statement there in terms of that we come together, we keep building and fighting for the community of collected energy. We get things done, and you are representing that strongly. Shannon, how can folks follow you, find you, get involved in whatever way possible? Let our listeners know all over how they can do that.
Yes, absolutely. We have a website, www.alabasterinternational.org. Would love folks to visit, check out our programs, learn about the lovely, amazing people we get to learn from and serve. We are on social media. Our Instagram is the most active, so at Alabaster_International is another way to follow our work. And, of course, folks who feel inspired by the work we're doing, we are obviously always raising funds to be able to scale the work we're doing, particularly around Enset, getting that out to more families so they have food to eat. And then, again, children are no longer dying of hunger in these communities. So we'd love folks to consider giving to the work as well. And most importantly, we want those who are connected to us, who check us out, to be inspired by the stories that we bear witness to of resilience and strength in the communities who are facing such dire consequences. So, yeah, that's the way to keep up with us.
Fantastic. Shannon, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Shannon Fernando, the CEO and founder of Alabaster International, thanks for your hard work and your commitment. I say this to you, stay safe, stay in the fight. We'd love to have you back in the future. We'll keep you posted and you keep us posted. Does that sound okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much to you, Richard, and to your team and to all your listeners. Take care. Thank you.
Absolutely. You too. Bye-bye now.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So there you go, guys. I wanted to try to end today's show on something that's reasonably or relatively positive about the work that people are doing. And if we get involved, we find something to get involved with, then we can do what Shannon just said, and that's get things done. And she clearly is a leader in that space. So let's hope that they can continue to be a force to not only help with the work that they're doing in Africa, specifically in that Southeast region, but also the work that they do through the Clinton Global Initiative, which is a powerful organization that's doing nothing but helping people, period, end. So that's what we want to be able to do. A big shout out to our good friend Karen Byrne for doing what she does and helping people and letting people know that they've got a support system. They've got people that care. That's the same thing that we see when we talk to someone like Bushra, who cares, wants to see things better for people. And that's what we all have the opportunity to do. We just have to ask ourselves, what is it that I want to do? What do I want to see happen? Who do I want to be able to help? And in building community, like the folks at Alabaster are doing, those things are being accomplished. So you guys stay focused, stay in the fight. I say this all the time. I appreciate you more than you can imagine. It's an honor to be here on the mornings and bring you my brand of radio each morning. But thanks to the team here at WCPT for our partnership and our teamwork that we do to get things done. Take a deep breath, guys. Make your life count. And smile at a stranger today. We'll see you next week.
Witness a slice of TV history with the First Lady of Television, now on stage at Northlight Theater. It's 1950, and Gertrude Berg is the pioneering creator and star of The Goldbergs, America's first family sitcom. When a co-star becomes a target of McCarthyism, Gertrude is faced with taking a stand or damaging her career in this ever-relevant new play by James Sherman, based